Ghost-type Pokemon are some of the coolest in the entire franchise. However, Ghost types are incredibly frail, and not only are they completely ineffective against normal types, but they also have a crippling fear of the dark. So I wanted to see if it was possible to beat all of Pokémon Scarlet using only the ghoulish Ghost types. Here's what happened. After loading in as our new trainer, Shaggy, Director Clavel breaks down our door before offering us one of these starter Pokemon. However, sadly, all three of these guys are well and truly alive, so we won't be able to use any of them. Regardless, I still make sure to take Fuecoco as it'll be very useful later on, but for now, he'll just have to be locked up in the box. So we quickly move through the opening cutscenes of the game, where we meet Koraidon, who is just straight up given to us by Arven, and after that, we begin charging up the Area 1 hill towards Mesagoza. However, before we can enter, we're stopped by Nemona. Alright Shaggy, how about a quick Pokemon battle? Ha! Have it your way. Prepare to face the wrath of my Ghost type. Wait, Ghost type? I thought you picked Fuecoco. Well, see, the thing about that is, I caught a Lechonk on the Poco path, but then Koraidon was hungry. So... you fed your Lechonk to Koraidon? You're a monster! Don't stress, Nemona. After Lechonk died, he was revived as a Ghost type. That's how I got this Ghost type Greavard, who I decided to name Scooby-Boo. You're insane! Clearly, Nemona is intimidated by our supernatural skills, forcing us into a battle. But hey, she's only got a measly grass cat and a Temu Pikachu knockoff, while we have our best buddy Scooby-Boo. There's no chance we could... lose. Wow, that was absolutely pathetic, Shaggy. How dare you insult me and my dancing dead dog? If you're not careful, I'll put a curse on you, Nemona. Right. I'm so scared. After the fight with Nemona, we're clear to move on into Mesagoza, where we begin our goal of dominating Paldea with our Ghost types. However, with already one loss on the board, and with all these extra rules on top to make this challenge even harder, this wasn't going to be something that our spooky dog could do alone. So, once nighttime arrived, it was time to go hunting for some ghosts. First, we head towards the South Province, and by utilizing some very state-of-the-art ghost hunting technology, we can quickly track down our first ghost, the icon Ghastly. This phantom Pokemon has been spooking children since Generation 1, and it'll be incredibly useful for our team going forward. On that note, I want to know, who is your favorite base form ghost type from the first generation of Pokemon? Like if you choose Ghastly, comment for Ghastly, or if you're really based, subscribe for Ghastly. Only democracy will answer who the favorite truly is. Moving on, and despite how rare ghost types typically are, thanks to the open world nature of Pokemon Scarlet, we're also able to find another ghostly apparition to add to our team this early on. And that Pokemon is the terrifying, nightmarish Gimmighoul? Yeah, this little gremlin is a part ghost type, and its added steel typing makes it a monster. Or at least it would be, if not for the fact that it only learns 2 moves by level up. Combine that with its very unimpressive stats, and us still being 999 coins away from its evolution, I don't expect this little guy to exactly light the world on fire. Our team of ghosts might not be much to look at right now, but in the meantime, we can check out some far more intimidating monsters with the sponsor of this video, Summoner's War. Summoner's War Sky Arena is a turn-based RPG all about collecting unique monsters and assembling teams that best support your strategy and battling style. Each monster has their own unique abilities and strengths, so it's fun to try out different combinations and find what works for you. You can either play solo, join a guild with friends, or compete against other players in PvP. With over 240 million downloads, Summoner's War is incredibly popular, and they're currently celebrating their 11th anniversary. As part of the celebrations, they're giving out a ton of free bonuses, including up to 200 free scrolls that summon monsters for you to add to your roster. Also, by playing through the Hall of Heroes, you can also earn summoning pieces for up to 10 specific monsters that you select. On top of all these events and giveaways, you can also use this code in-game to give you an enormous stack of loot, but it's only for a limited time. So try Summoner's War Sky Arena as soon as possible to make sure you don't miss out on all these bonuses. You can get started playing for free by clicking my link in the description. So start collecting and battling with Summoner's War Sky Arena. Regardless, with our first spooky trio now assembled, we go and enjoy a delicious sandwich at a cute little picnic. Then we begin our journey of conquering the Paldea region by riding into Cortondo, home of the first gym. At first glance, Katie and her bug types shouldn't be too difficult for us to handle. Not only do ghosts resist bug for some reason, but we also can't be hit by Katie's normal or fighting type moves. So this should all mean that Katie is pretty helpless against us, right? Well, we were about to find out as our team stepped up to tackle the bug type specialist. She leads with Nimble as we start with our sidekick. And while struggle bugs from Nimble don't do much at all, headbutts from our prized Pooch do way more, which means that after a few turns of trading blows, we draw first blood. However, this is where things get more complicated, because Katie's Tarantula knows Assurance, a dark type move that can do big damage to us. However, our Greavard goes huge here, clutching up with a lucky flinch. This means that while Tarantula can still bring us to the absolute brink of death, we're just able to outpace it, giving us our second KO. This leaves Katie with only her ace, Teddiursa. But with the fight now being a 3 versus 1, this should be a piece of cake. Except Teddiursa quickly dissects our dog with a Fury Cutter, which is bad enough, but Fury Cutter's power increases with each successive use, while our remaining ghosts do less than ideal damage. Even with the rest of our team quad resisting bug type moves, we're still helpless in the face of Teddiursa's attacks as they just rip through our Ghastly and Gimmighoul in no time at all. I don't believe it! Our entire team of ghosts were busted by a single bug type teddy bear. Our ghosts were already starting to struggle against this Master Baker, which makes me very concerned about how we're going to deal with some of the actually terrifying hurdles in our future. I then went on to try this fight against Katie over and over again, but the result was always the exact same. We just can't stop the momentum of Teddiursa's onslaught, at least until attempt 4. This time, at level 15, our Greavard is much better at dealing with Katie's Pokemon. The importance of this is that by the time we deal with Tarantula, we're left with a tiny bit more HP than usual. So now we had a slight HP boost as Katie's Teddiursa once again emerges, ready to dominate. However, this time, Greavard just survives the first Fury Cutter. This means we can dish out some decent chip damage before our real star of the show hits the field. Because unlike my previous attempts, this time, a lick from Ghastly paralyzes Teddiursa. This stops its Fury Cutter from building up too much power. Combine this with Confusion, causing Teddiursa to hit itself, along with Ghastly's payback attacks, and all of this results in our little gas ball single-handedly taking revenge on Katie's ace. With one last payback, Teddiursa goes down, giving us a clutch win against the Bug Baker. That was a big win, but while we may have earned our first badge, we were already having to rely on things like Confusion and Paralysis to stand a chance in these fights, which does not bode well for our future. With that said, now it was time to venture onto the other side of Paldea, where our next objective is waiting. Before that though, I wanted to add another ghostly ghoul to our gang and went searching for a new teammate. Although what I found instead was absolutely shocking. A shiny Stantler. It might not be a ghost type, and it's certainly quite striking, but you just know that I had to catch this guy. Oh, not to use it, of course. Stantler makes for a perfect sacrifice for any hexes or curses we want to cast. So, after sacrificing Stantler back into the arms of Lord Helix, I turned my attention back towards finding an actual ghost type, and soon after, we're able to find Shuppet. It's not as spooky, adorable, or as useless as our other teammates, but while it may seem a bit underwhelming, Shuppet would pay big dividends for us as we step up to face the first Titan of this run, the Crab King Claw. Despite being a Titan and a King, it turns out that Clorf's brain is about as dead as our ghosts are, because for some reason, it keeps trying to hit us with normal type moves. Thanks to this, Shuppet can hit Clorf with Will-O-Wisp, majorly nerfing its attack power. As a result, Clorf is essentially helpless, with our combination of Nightshades and burn damage eventually cooking that crustacean to a crisp, yielding us our first Titan win. Wow, your Hex magic seems pretty powerful, Shaggy. Thanks, Arvin. It takes a lot of special fuel for me to use these powers. Wait, what do you mean? In order for me to use my Hex magic, I need my trusty natural fuel source, delicious cave herbs. Shaggy, what's that smell? Don't worry about it. With our mind and body now freshly rejuvenated, I was feeling incredibly confident as we soon arrived in Artisan Town, home of the Grass-type gym leader, Brassius. Although thankfully, Brassius isn't too much of a hurdle for our ghost types. While his lead Petalil is a bit of a pest, putting our puppy to sleep and doing decent damage with Mega Drain, by pivoting around with our team, we're gradually able to wear Petalil down before a Nightshade draws first blood. Then, when Brassius's goofy little Smoliv hits the field, our Ghastly trades blows back and forth, with the glorified Grape putting us on the back foot. However, by hitting Smoliv with Confuse Ray, Brassius's tiny Olive repeatedly hits itself, somehow, despite having no hands. This leaves Brassius with only his ace Sudowoodo. This thing is much more powerful than the rest of Brassius's team, but not only is Sudowoodo equally as susceptible to confusion as Smoliv, Shuppet can once again use Will-O-Wisp to nerf its attack, also putting Sudowoodo on a timer. Before long, Greavard had outlasted Sudowoodo, giving us another straightforward win. Despite starting poorly, our ghost types were starting to hold their own. However, with what's coming up on the horizon, that was certainly about to change. Before moving on to our next objective, I headed west of Cortondo, as it's here that we can find another new ghost type to add to the team in Drifloon. Creating this is one of Game Freak's finest moments for scary Pokemon, as the whole lore around Drifloon is absolutely terrifying. Regardless, Drifloon's secondary flying type helps to round out our team, and we'd need all the help we can possibly get with what's coming up next. Because the next major fights are a ghost type trainer's worst nightmare, the first of which being the flying titan Bombardier. Not only is it incredibly powerful for this early in the game, it also has a huge HP bar and a secondary dark type that allows it to resist all of our ghost type moves. Seriously, this is the kind of Pokemon that haunts ghost types. That's how terrifying Bombardier is. Regardless, we had to try and take it on. So, with our team of ghost types in tow, we ascended the mountain before facing up to the flying titan, and it goes horribly. Seriously, this fight is a nightmare right from the start. In no time at all, Bombardier takes out Gimmighoul and Ghastly without even breaking a sweat. We do manage to inflict a burn once again with Shuppet, and our newly acquired Drifloon is able to put in some decent work by hitting the Titan with Hex. But by the time we'd miraculously made it to Bombardier's second phase, we had 4 dead teammates and only a single injured Greavard. There was no way for us to win from here. At least, that's what I thought. Because in the second phase, Arven joins the fight with his rock-type Knackley. Not only does this give us a chance to survive if Bombardier decides to attack Arven, but also, Knackley can hit the Titan with big super effective damage with Smackdown. Combine this with the fact that Greavard also knows Dig, which allows us to hide underground like a coward. All of this means that not only do we evade the Titan's attacks, but one last Smackdown from Arven's pet rock shoots Bombardier out of the sky. By no means was that an honorable win, but it is still a win, with Arven and our Greavard having carried us to victory over the Dark-type demon on our first try. And speaking of good boys, after we once again stock up on some very necessary sage, Arven reveals his poor, sickly dog, Mabistiff. What's the matter, Arven? Is Mabistiff under some kind of curse? I don't know, Shaggy. It's all so upsetting. Can I try use some of that Herba Mystica to help heal him? Nah, I don't think so. What? Why not? I need these herbs more. They're for my glaucoma. You don't have glaucoma? Exactly. And I intend to keep it that way with the power of these herbs. We'll deal with Arven and his potentially dead dog later on. For now though, unfortunately, our attention is once again drawn towards another ghost type's nightmare, as now we have to tackle the first team starbase, led by Giacomo, the dark type DJ. The team star bosses are deadly, mostly due to their pimped out Revavroom that each of them carry in the back. These Starmobiles have a huge HP bar and are immune to status effects, so our Hex magic is far less useful here. And thanks to his dark types, Giacomo would be one of the toughest team star bosses for our ghost types to overcome. You want to know just how bad of a matchup this truly is? Well, I lost during the Star Barrage battle. Yes, the mindless minigame you have to clear before each team's star fight. I lost during that. This is genuinely one of the most embarrassing losses I've ever experienced in a video game. Thankfully, we are able to eventually get through it before Giacomo finally makes his entrance. Well, who knows? We got lucky against Bombardier. Maybe this fight will be just like that too. Oh, never mind. Despite Giacomo's team consisting of only 2 Pokemon, this fight is so rough. As soon as his Ace Starmobile hits the field, it's a massacre. Every single one of our ghosts suffer a hit and run as the Starmobile rips through our team without even breaking a sweat. That was a disaster. When we fought Bombardier, we could rely on status effects and backup from Arven, but this time, those are not an option. With such an awful matchup, I don't see any way for our current team to ever break through the Dark-type DJ and his Starmobile. So I knew that our only option was to power up. And since I'm all out of Herba Mystica, that means venturing out to hunt down more ghosts. There are 2 ghost types in particular that I have in mind. However, to get one of them, first of all, I have to tell you a joke. What would you call the Pokemon mascot if it was a ghost type? A peekaboo! There we go. Bramblin is one of Paldea's new ghost types that not only appreciates my brilliant comedy, but also fills out our team nicely with its grass ghost typing. The second ghost I want to hunt down is inside the caves of Paldea, where we have the chance to find Sableye. This little gremlin is one of the few ghost types who isn't weak to dark, since it's a part dark type too. So with these 2 new teammates, along with some upgraded movesets, items, and TMs, we once again return to the Dark Team Starbase, ready for a rematch. Round 2. Here we go. This time, against Giacomo's lead Pawniard, our Greavard is holding the Soft Sand to boost up the power of Dig. As a result, Greavard is able to capture Giacomo's pawn in just 2 turns. Although this is nothing compared to the Queen Starmobile, who quickly crushes our pup in revenge with Wicked Talk. Once again, this behemoth was gearing up to sweep through our entire team. However, as daunting as this may seem, this time we have Sableye. Our newest team member knows the move Low Sweep, that not only hits the Starmobile for super effective damage, but also lowers the car's speed. On top of that, thanks to Sableye's partial dark typing, Giacomo doesn't see a kill with any of his moves, meaning he often just goes for Metal Sound. It's dicey, but we're able to repeat the cycle of hitting the Starmobile with a Low Sweep, then switching into a different teammate on the following turn to tank an attack, while also resetting the special defense drop. It's incredibly close, with most of our team needing to be sacrificed in the process, but thanks to the speed drops, Bramblin can land a very crucial pounce before falling, and by the skin of its teeth, Sableye is able to survive a Wicked Talk on only 6 HP. After that, one last Low Sweep is all we need to wipe out the rest of the Starmobile's health. Those last 2 fights were so ruthless, but our ghosts had somehow conquered their dark type nightmares. Alright, it's time for you Team Star losers to go back to school. Never! I refuse to go back there. Well, in that case, my ghost types and I will just have to scare you straight. Oh god, no, please, anything but that. It's too late, you freak. Prepare to face the wrath of my spooky, horrifying Gimmighoul. Are you scared yet? No! Having now conquered 2 treacherous hurdles to our ghost types, I was starting to feel confident, and soon after, we reached Levincia, home of our next gym challenge. Oh great, it's this loser again. Still failing to scare anyone with your ghosts? Oh yeah? I'll show you, Nemona. Prepare to be terrified by my tiny friend Balloon. His name is Balloon. Get it? Balloon? Having somehow resisted our scare tactics, Nemona forces us into a fight, and while she may have slapped us around in the beginning, now we had a much more well-rounded team. As proof of that, our new Bramblin goes huge here. Thanks to firing off bullet seeds, it dices through Nemona's Rockruff and Pawmi in just a single turn. Her Ace Florigato is a little scary though, since it can hit us with super effective bites. However, by using the move Pounce, we deal decent damage while also lowering her speed. This means that once Drifloon floats on in, a few gusts are all we need to bury Nemona's ace into the dirt. I told you the balloon was scary, Nemona. With Nemona dealt with, now we can move on to tackle the 3rd gym. Alright Shaggy, for the gym challenge, I need numbers. What can you do with Director Clavel to get me some big viewership on my stream? Wait, you mean I can do anything? Anything. I never should have signed that waiver. Obviously, our act of sacrifice drew in big subscriber numbers and we passed the gym challenge. With that behind us, now we're able to take on the third gym leader. While Leono may not have an inherent type advantage like the last two bosses, her team is deceivingly difficult for ghost types. Not only is she carrying a Luxio that knows Bite, but what's even more terrifying is her Mismagius in the back. This thing is a problem. By terastallizing, Mismagius loses its weakness to Ghost, but it still has its powerful Ghost-type attacks that can hit us for massive super effective damage. Regardless, with all the wins we'd been racking up, I was feeling incredibly confident about our chances as we stepped up to earn badge number 3. However, I was wrong, because we got utterly destroyed by Iono. Her lead watch roll isn't too hard to deal with, but the Luxio that follows is a serious problem. It's faster than most of our ghosts, and its super effective bites just chomp through a large chunk of our team. While we can eventually take down the oversized cat, by then, the damage is done as the rest of our team just gradually is crushed into pieces, serving us a demoralizing loss. Despite that, I marched straight back into the gym, ready for redemption, only for things to go even worse this time. On the second attempt, I couldn't even make it past Iono's belly bolt, as this fight just turned into an absolute massacre. While our ghosts have already overcome some bad matchups, Pokémon Scarlet wasn't giving us a break, nor was it going to get any easier for our ghosts as this challenge goes on. So, with that said, it was time to bring out the big guns. A bucket and spade. By harnessing the spooky power of some beach toys, we can construct ourselves a Sandygast. Not only is this a ghost ground type, which is incredibly useful for Iono's gym, but it also has some solid defense and special attack. So surely, with this new teammate in our arsenal, this would make our fight with Iono much more simple, right? Wrong. Despite the huge upgrade to our team with Sandygast, which helps to deal big damage to Luxio and Bellybolt, I still lost several times to Iono. The fact that Luxio's bites do big damage while also having the chance to flinch, combined with Mismagius' super effective Hex and Confuse Ray Cheese, meant that we were just trapped in a never-ending nightmare. We lost over and over to Iono, and I was starting to think that our ghost types had truly reached their limit. Until this attempt. Turn 1. Our Shuppet can comfortably tank a Spark from Watch Roll before hitting it with an Icy Wind. This not only does decent damage, but also lowers Watch Roll's speed, allowing us to quickly finish off the goofy bird within 2 turns. This summons Luxio, and we need a solid plan for dealing with this thing. Sableye can tank bites pretty well thanks to its dark typing, then we hit Luxio with a Fake Out for some chip damage, before switching into Sandygast as the incoming Spark doesn't affect our ground type. Thankfully, this time we don't get flinched by Bite, so a single Mud Shot wipes out Luxio, bringing down half of Iono's team and summoning Bellybolt. Although, since this frog knows Water Gun, it's a big threat to our Sandygast. So, after trading blows, we switch into Bramblin, who just barely tanks a boosted Spark from this chubby menace, before taking it down with a barrage of Bullet Seeds. Now we'd made it all the way to Iono's ace with our whole team still alive. However, that was about to change, as Hex immediately takes down our Tumbleweed. Mismagius is just so fast and hits our ghost type so hard that we could easily be swept here. So my best shot of winning is to rely on Sableye. Reason being, Sableye can chip away at Mismagius with priority Fake Out. Although using this repeatedly basically requires us to sacrifice our other team members, as we constantly have to switch Sableye in and out to keep using Fake Out, which ultimately brings Mismagius to half health. At this point, Mismagius can either go for Hex or Confuse Ray, and it goes for the latter. While this would normally be risky, our Person Berry cures this immediately. This gives us the opening to hit Mismagius with Nightshade, putting it on the brink of fainting. However, on the next turn, Mismagius begins to charge up a deadly Hex. Please, Sableye, hang in there! And it does! Sableye once again carries us to victory as one last Nightshade finally slays Mismagius, giving us the win in what turned out to be a ridiculously difficult fight. That's our third badge secured, and those last 3 major fights were incredibly painful as our ghosts had been battered, bruised, and busted. Thankfully though, our next few fights would finally give us some breathing room, partially due to the team upgrades that we were about to receive. This all starts with Ghastly, who evolves into the incredibly mischievous Haunter, and this guy ends up being a big help against the next Team Star boss, Mela. Against Mela's Torkoal, a curse from Haunter helps to send that turtle to the Shadow Realm within just a few turns. This leaves us with only the Starmobile to deal with, and while we do have some Starmobile-related PTSD, our sheer numbers advantage here allows our Ghost to gradually chip it down before slaying the gargantuan car, giving us the win against Mela on our first try. Hey, that's not fair! You had 6 Ghosts against my 2 fire types. You students are the worst. Foolish Mela, I'll scare you straight back to the academy. Haunter, pull the face. So, the battle against Mela was straightforward, and the one that followed against the Titan Orthworm was also a similar story. This time, our Goblin, Sableye, once again comes in clutch. By using Will-O-Wisp, we can burn the Titan to completely nerf its offense, ultimately giving us an easy win over the oversized Alaskan Bullworm. Look, Shaggy, Mapastive isn't getting any better. Please, can I just use one little piece of Herba Mystica to try and heal it? No way, Arvin. I need these herbs for my Ligma. Huh? What's Ligma? It's a very serious medical condition, Arvin, one which can only be healed by using ancient cave herbs. Now, can you give me a minute? Our reputation as an incredibly scary ghost trainer must have spread all across Paldea, because as soon as the 4th gym leader Kofu lays eyes on us, he immediately runs away, probably because he's scared of my Gimmighoul. So, naturally, we begin chasing him down. And while taking a lovely stroll through the desert with our Tumbleweed, Bramblin had eventually rolled far enough to transform into the all-powerful Bramblegast. And this ghostly grass type is packing heat too. Look, Shaggy, I'll give you the gym badge, just so long as you and your scary grass type leave me alone. Alright, Kofu, on one condition. You let me have that delicious seaweed from the market. That marks 3 dominant, crushing wins back to back, and with our team continuing to get stronger, like our Drifloon becoming the Zeppelin-sized Drifblim, I was starting to feel incredibly confident as we hit the halfway point of our gym challenge. And that dominance looked like it was set to continue, as our next major fight is against Atticus of Team Star. While Atticus can be one of the harder fights in Pokémon Scarlet due to his quartet of strong, fully evolved Pokémon, thankfully, our ghost types have a natural resistance to poison. By no means is this fight easy, as we still take big damage from Atticus and lose our Gimmighoul, but our team was still dominating. At least until the poison-type Starmobile hits the field, because despite this being a 5v1, it's just hopeless. Even with our type advantage, our ghosts immediately start to crumble, as spin-outs from the toxic car just do so much damage, while our attacks barely leave a scratch on its bumper. Very quickly, this fight was turning from an easy win into a crushing defeat. But then, Drifblim hits the field. While this haunted air balloon isn't known for its firepower, it does have a huge HP stack. Combine this with the move Stockpile, which increases both defense stats, and our Drifblim had basically become a tank. This increased defense allows us to survive long enough to start firing off Phantom Forces, which ultimately rip right through the Starmobile. And facing the jaws of defeat with one last Phantom Force, our Drifblim clutches up, earning us a huge victory. Ugh, great. You stalled me out with a Drifblim. Are you happy now? Ha! Clearly you were too scared to fight back in the face of my spine-chilling soldiers. Good luck getting a good night's sleep with Drifblim haunting your every waking moment. Right. Like I'd be scared of a harmless little balloon. While I'm sure that Team Star were already returning to school, having been scared by my ghosts, we have much bigger things to worry about as our next fight is fast approaching. And this time, we're up against our natural enemy, Larry. He's the king of the normies, meaning that neither of our types can actually hit each other. While this matchup might seem like a bit of a dice roll, I intend to turn the odds in our favor, as there's one Pokemon in particular I know we need to recruit. Primate. Why must I always be tormented like this? Eventually, we do track down a legitimate Primate. And while it isn't a dead ghost type yet, after a few rounds of shadowboxing in the early routes, our pig-nosed fighter evolves into the enraged Annihilate. This guy is so awesome. One of Scarlet and Violet's coolest new Pokemon that has an amazing type combination. Annihilape, along with our newly evolved Houndstone, were exactly what we needed to take down the greatest enemy to ghost types everywhere. Alright, you normal type scumbag, you might think you have a team that can sidestep my ghost types, but I've created a powerful trio that'll smite you down. Prepare to meet your maker. It's really not that deep, man. I'm just here because it's my job. Larry's normal types are still dangerous. However, I have a plan to shift this battle in our favor. First, Larry's lead Kamala can only hit us with Sucker Punch. So, to avoid this, our Houndstone uses Roar, sending Kamala back to the bench. This brings into Dunsparce, but this oversized slug can't square up to our raging, undead ape as we claim the first KO. Then, when Kamala re-emerges, we once again clear it out of the battlefield, summoning Larry's ace, Staraptor. However, our Houndstone isn't only a roaring beast, it's also a charmer too. And with this, we nerf Staraptor's attack stat into the ground. To tie Larry's hands even further though, I've taught our Brambleghast the move Disable. This locks Staraptor out of using Aerial Ace, forcing it to only use Facade, a normal move which can't hit us. This transforms Larry's Eagle into a sitting duck, and very quickly, we shoot it down out of the sky with Bullet Seed. We had completely crushed Larry and his normal types like it was nothing, claiming our 5th badge. And with so many powerful ghost types now in our arsenal, it felt like nothing could stop us now. Hey Geeta, did you see how horrifying and scary my ghost types were in that fight? Huh? Scary? Your little pet monkey and dog are so cute, Shaggy. Yeah, the only thing scary about this guy is the strange smell he seems to have. I am scary. If you keep doubting it, I'll curse you for 1,000 years, Nemona. Yet again, Nemona forces us into a fight. It was time for round 3 against our rival, and I thought this would be a piece of cake. Sure, Nemona's Lycanroc does crush our Brambleghast with a Lucky Bite and Accelerock, but Annihilape is as angry as ever, punching its way through Nemona's first 3 team members. From this point, what else could she even do to fight back? Uh-oh. Yeah, so it turns out Nemona's Ace Meowscarada is a demon. While it loses its dark typing after terastallizing, the sheer power of Flower Trick just brutalizes our ghosts. And with a simple click of its fingers, Nemona's magical cat dices through our ghost type monkey and dog. In the blink of an eye, we had lost yet again. I don't know what powers this dark grass magician has, but clearly Nemona now has a Pokemon that hard counters my team, and I am terrified. But we can get our revenge on Nemona later. For now, despite that loss, next we turned our attention back towards the late game gyms of Pokémon Scarlet. So, determined to get our terrifying ghost types back in the winner's circle, we began climbing Paldea's icy mountain before reaching the spooky town of Montenevera, where the next gym leader was waiting. Alright Shaggy, for the gym mission, I need you to warm up the crowd before Rhyme gets here. Got it? Ha! I may be a master of the undead, but I'll definitely bring this place to life with my comedy. Hey guys, so glad to be out here tonight. Say, does anyone here know what Ghost Pokemon's favorite music genre is? Because I'm pretty sure it's soul music. Wait, where is everybody? Weren't you meant to fire up the crowd? Quick, Shaggy, say something smart. Yeah, I made them all laugh so hard that they all had to go to the hospital. This battle against Rhyme is a Ghost-type showdown, and since Ghost is weak to Ghost, this fight was going to be a slugfest to determine who truly is the scarier trainer. In this double battle, I lead with a pair of Sableye and Houndstone. Since Sableye can deal decent damage while also not being weak to Ghost, and Houndstone can use its ever-so-charming smile to nerf the attack of Rhyme's puppet. By mitigating the damage from Mimikyu, it means that we can instead focus our attention on the other slot, taking down the Houndstone that follows, and even Rhyme's ace, Toxtricity, can't survive for even a single turn, as it too goes down instantly. Our plan had worked perfectly, comfortably establishing us as the most terrifying Ghost-type trainer in the region. That win was so dominant, in fact, that I decided to steal Rhyme's whole flow and go hunt down a Mimikyu of my very own. This little ghost is iconic. With its disguise ability and a secondary fairy typing, Mimikyu helps to round out our spooky squad very nicely. And this little puppet was about to prove its worth right away, as next, we have to take on the prehistoric titan, Great Tusk. It may be packing enormous physical power and a strong type combo, but there's one thing that Great Tusk fears more than anything: kisses. With its newly learnt Draining Kiss, Mimikyu is able to smooch the Jurassic Titan for super effective damage, all while healing back our health in the process. This all results in an absolutely dominant win, as our Ghost had quickly claimed the scalp of another Titan. Alright Shaggy, seriously, Mabosstiff doesn't look like he's getting any better, and you're not doing anything to help. I've been helping to keep our vibes high, even while silently suffering from my serious case of ligma. Now let me relax in peace. Honestly, all Arven does is whine and complain. It makes me so angry. And to take out that anger, I intend to take our group of ghouls to terrify the people of our next major destination, Alphanada. I just want one glimpse. Never mind. Someone else is clearly already here to creep everyone out. Anyway, next we have to contend with the final two gym leaders. However, neither of these fights were much of a challenge for our powerhouse ghost types. Against Tulip psychic types, we have a pretty massive type advantage. And with our newly evolved Banette added to the roster, this fight just wasn't even close, as we ripped Tulip and her psychic types apart for one of our easiest badges so far. Although that almost immediately gets overshadowed by the final gym fight against Grusha, because while ghosts don't have any advantage here, our fighting ghost Annihilate does. In the face of Grusha's frail ice types, Annihilate just punches and kicks its way through his entire team, wiping through them like it's nothing. With that, we had dominated the final two gym leaders, and I just know that people will finally start to be scared and intimidated by me. Aw, what a cute little team, Shaggy. You've got some pets, and even some new toys too. Yeah, what kind of scary trainer plays with dolls, dude? They're not dolls, they're super scary ghost types that'll destroy everything in their path. You should be horrified by how scary we are. Hey, is that Meowscarada behind you? Not that thing again! Run! After escaping certain death at the paws of that demonic cat, I needed something to calm me down. Thankfully, I know exactly what I need, but to get it, first, we have to take on the final titans, Dondozo and Tatsugiri. With 3 phases in total, these are the toughest titans in the game. And while our Bramblegast is locked and loaded with bullet seeds, I wanted to start filling out our team with some of the final new recruits. So, before stepping up to the Titan, I headed to Porto Marinada, as it's here that we can catch ourselves a Rotom. It won't be able to change its form, since only its base form is a ghost type, but Electric is still an amazing secondary typing for us, and Rotom proves its worth immediately as the final Titan fight begins against the oversized Seafood. The Water Whale Dondozo gets completely handled by our newest ghost, as the pair of Discharge and Electro Ball shock the catfish into submission over the first 2 phases. Then, against Tatsugiri, the added Dragon type makes this fight a lot tougher, but that still doesn't stop our Bramblegast from rolling into battle and unloading a full mag of bullet seeds to take down the Titanic Sushi, sealing our win over the final Titan of Pokémon Scarlet. Oh my god, Mabosstiff, you're finally healed! It's a miracle! No, that's not a miracle at all, Arven. Wait, what do you mean? I think the right words are, thank you Shaggy for healing my Mabosstiff back to life with your ghostly powers. What are you talking about? You didn't do anything! All you did was take the Herba Mystica. I had to steal little pieces just to heal Mabosstiff. You stole Herba Mystica from me? Stealing from a sick man? That's a new low. Even for you, Arven, you'll pay for this. We've been completely undermined by the 2 top champions, and now we learn that Arven's been stealing from us? This is ridiculous. However, now I was focused on the final 2 team star bosses and trying to scare them straight back to school. And considering that next up is Ortega, I knew exactly what I had to do. Because by using our Hex magic to control the mind of a random trainer in Paldea, we can trade our Haunter back and forth, allowing it to evolve into its most powerful form, Gengar. The OG ghost icon, as well as one of my favorites. Not only is Gengar incredibly powerful, but its secondary poison typing was about to become very useful, because with our Toxic Spirit now at full firepower, I was about to ruin Ortega's day, because Gengar's barrage of sludge bombs absolutely cripple his entire team into the dirt like it's nothing. It was just a massacre out there on the battlefield. Ha! Take that, Ortega! I bet you won't be able to sleep for months after that horrifying loss. As if, Shaggy. Your Gengar looks like a plush toy. I'm more afraid of the way you smell rather than your team. Why isn't anybody scared of my ghosts? This is getting ridiculous. I needed a punching bag to take out my anger on, and thankfully, our next fight is fittingly against the fighting type specialist, Eri. She carries 5 of the toughest Pokemon in the region, but I had a devilish plan to spook Eri into submission. By leading with Annihilate, we're able to bulk up pretty comfortably in front of Eri's lead Toxicroak. And while we do end up taking some sucker punch damage in the process, this only serves to power up Annihilate's signature move, Rage Fist. This all means that our bulky, powerful, and furious ape can build up some big momentum before running wild on Eri's team, with a single Rage Fist being all we need to total her dreaded Starmobile in a single shot. Oh my god, this is so horrifying! Ha! Finally, someone who's terrified of me and my ghoulish ghosts. Huh? No, I'm talking about the smell. Audie was right. You smell putrid. Ugh, what is it with you guys? Why is no one afraid of me? My demeanor is terrifying. Look, man, I don't know what to tell you. Our big boss is far scarier than anything you can throw at us. If you want to see real fear, you'll have to go meet them. Okay, that's it. Despite becoming a ghost-type master, nobody is scared of me. However, I still haven't given up on my plan of making Paldea tremble in fear. And to do it, I'll need to round up the last few ghost Pokemon hiding in the shadows. First, at the icy peaks of Glaciado, we hunt down the haunting mountain monster, Frostlass. With its creepy backstory as a woman who got lost during a mountainous blizzard, this ice type would surely be able to scare the masses. On top of this new recruit, some of our existing Pokemon are also able to evolve, starting with our tiny little Sandygast, who shores up all its strength into Palisand, the super bulky sandcastle. And yet, even though that's a strong teammate, now it's time to conjure up the big guns. Fuecoco has now spent enough time locked up in the box, and now we can evolve it all the way into the fiery beast, Skeledirge. This guy is one of the coolest starter Pokemon ever, while also providing us with fantastic fire-type coverage. And finally, by going on a trek all across Paldea, we pick up Gimmighoul coins scattered across the floor until we reach the absolute limit of 999 tokens, which we then cash in our chips to evolve our harmless little Gimmighoul into the rare and incredibly powerful Goldengo, a Pokemon good as gold with a fantastic type combination of Steel Ghost. We've now assembled an undead army of powerful ghost types, and this might just be the strongest looking team I've ever had in one of these monotype runs. Although I knew exactly who I wanted to feel the fear of our upgraded ghosts as we climbed the stairs of Mesa Goza. Aha! Finally! I made it out of the Shadow Realm you sent me to, Shaggy. Now me, Lechonk, and Stantler are all here to get our revenge. I don't have time for this. Skeledirge, Torch Song. With that brief distraction out of the way, now it was time for us to get some answers. Alright Penny, I need to know right now. Why are none of you afraid of my ghost types? You couldn't even scare your own shadow, Shaggy. I'll show you true fear. Prepare to meet the untold horrors of my evolutions that are all very upset with you. Penny, along with the rest of Team Star, have continuously undermined us at every turn. And now it was my time for revenge. Thankfully, her evolutions don't really stand much of a chance against our ghosts. Annihilate pummels Umbreon and stomps Flareon. Bramblegast rains bullets down on Vaporeon. Skeledirge's Torch Song incinerates Leafeon. Palisand completely walls Jolteon. And Goldengo makes it rain all over Sylveon, giving us a dominant win. I bet Penny is shaking in her boots right now. Wow, that battle told me everything I need to know about you, Shaggy. That I'm haunting? That I'm horrifying? That my natural being is enough to terrify you? That your team is filled with cute, adorable little ghosts? Hey boss, are you ready for our playdate? Of course, and I've invited Shaggy too. Trust me, once you get past his strange aroma, he's a great fit for Team Star. With Team Star left in the dust, now it was time to hunt down the next target on my spooky hit list. Alright Arvin, let's settle this like mature 12-year-olds. All you need to do is apologize for not seeing how vital I was in Mabastiff's recovery. What? You didn't do anything! All you did was steal the Herba Mystica, and Mabastiff and I are going to make you pay. While our team is full of strong and diverse ghost types, Arvin's gang of 6, led by his menacing dark type dog, means this fight is a a little less straightforward. Still, we start out strong. We can bulk up on our Annihilate for a defense boost, helping it to easily tank a Psychic Fangs, before a close combat uppercuts Arven's Fat Squirrel into orbit. Scovillain is up next as it fires off a devastating Fire Blast, and we survive! But it gets the burn. Unfortunately, this means we aren't able to get the KO with Rage Fist, although Gengar is free to come in and finish the job. From here though, the battle becomes a bit more straightforward. Bramblegast trades its AK for a Negev, as eventually Bullet Seeds topple Arven's Garganical. The team of Frostlass and Gengar are able to take down Toadscruel, as a single Sludge Bomb gets the job done. This, however, is just the entree, as Arven's main course, Mabastiff, is deadly, especially after its Dark-type Terror. Our Sludge Bomb does decent damage, but it's nowhere near enough for the KO, and Arven's dog is about to decimate our entire team with super effective crunches. Except Gengar's Cursed Body activates. This puts a muzzle on Arven's Demonic Dog, preventing it from using its only Dark-type move. As a result, Skeledirge hits the field, and with 2 quick Torch Songs, we claim a very clutch victory over our rival. And I won't be helping you to heal Mabastiff this time, Arven. So, our Ghost types had now dealt with 2 of our main rivals. However, there are still 2 top champions out there that we need to teach a lesson to. Before we can get to them though, we do have to get through the Elite Four challenge. Usually these battles are a tough gauntlet, but not this time around. Against Rika and her ground types, our Tumbleweed just does what it does best, gunning down every single one of Rika's team with Bullet Seeds in a clutch 5v1 ace. Poppy's Steel types aren't as simple to deal with, but it's still nothing we can't handle. With Annihilate unleashing its pent-up frustration, it completely smashes through Poppy's first 3 Pokemon. After that, Skeledirge hits the field and quickly melts down the rest of Poppy's team like they're nothing. The heinous normal-type villain Larry does re-emerge to try and stop us, but since he's now changed allegiances to Team Sky, we have a perfectly terrifying Ice-type to haunt him. Frost Breath does big damage, and the combination of Snowscape and Aurora Veil helps to mitigate any damage we take. While Frostlass eventually does fall to Flamigo, from here, Gengar can pluck the feathers of Larry's airborne ace for another easy win. This leaves only Hassel, who definitely provides the biggest challenge here with his dragons. However, we just have so many good Pokemon at our disposal now. Even when our Pokemon do fall, they can also bring Hassel's dragons down with them. And before long, a Play Rough from Mimikyu rips apart Hassel's Ace-Bax Caliber, and we are torn through all 4 Pokemon League members in no time at all. With our momentum now at an all-time high, I was feeling very confident as we reached the battlefield of Paldea's top champion. Aw, look at you, Shaggy. I'm sorry though, I'm working right now. You can go play with your cute little toys in the courtyard though. Oh, Geeta. I'm really going to enjoy this. Geeta carries a pretty diverse team of 6. However, I had assembled a spooky squad, including some of Paldea's strongest Pokemon. With that, now we were ready to take on the champ. Polita Sparthra can cripple our Banette with Lumina Crash, but our Shadow Claw does big damage in return. Then, on the next turn, a quick priority Sucker Punch is all we need to draw first blood. Second is King Gambit, whose Dark typing would have been terrifying in the past. But now, we have our very angry and very dead Annihilate, who quickly punches King Gambit right in the jaw with a quite effective close combat. Next up is Gogoat, and this is where I intend to take charge. Unfortunately, I need a safe switch, so Banette has to be sacrificed for the greater good. But it's this sacrifice that allows our Crocodile to safely hit the field. Now it was time to cook. The combination of Flame Charge, as well as 2 Torch Songs, are all we need to finish off the Grassy Goat, while also powering up our speed and special attack. And these boosts are huge for us, as now we can melt Avalugg down into a puddle with Torch Song, and the Veluza that follows is quickly crushed by Shadow Ball. This all leaves Geeta with only her ace, the Rock Terra Glamora. However, even it can't stand up to our starter, as the combination of Snarl and Shadow Ball are all it takes to crush Geeta's ace, giving us yet another dominant victory, as well as the crown of champion. Oh man, you beat Geeta, Shaggy? What, did you put her to sleep with how lame you and your ghosts are? No, Nimona, Shaggy worked really hard. Yeah, you tell her, Geeta. And his team is so adorable too. Let's not tell her, Geeta. Whatever. Me and my Meowscarada are going to embarrass you in front of everyone. When I'm done with you, you'll be as dead as your ghosts are, Shaggy. While we'd conquered one champion with ease, the deadly Nemona is a very different story. She has an even stronger team, capped off with the Dark Grass Magician that strikes fear into the hearts of any ghost. This was not going to be an easy fight, but with the powerful ghosts we've assembled, I was ready to give it our best shot. Let's do this. Nemona leads with her Rocky Dog, but thankfully for us, this is the year of the monkey. Nemona deals some quick chip damage with Drill Run, but we can once again buff up our Annihilate, who then manages to draw First Blood with Stomping Tantrum. That boost to our physical stats then continues paying dividends as our buff defense helps us to tank a double shock from Pormont before we fire back, absolutely obliterating Nemona's next few teammates with the combination of Rage Fist and Close Combat. Annihilate's momentum does eventually get put to a stop by Goodra, although now we're in such a great spot as Mimikyu can come in and tank some big hits before slaying the Gooey Dragon with an onslaught of play roughs. Now it was down to a 5v1 and we were heavily in the lead. Although a single click of the fingers can change that with Nemona's ace, Meowscarada. It's scary, it's fast, and with moves like Shadow Claw, it can wipe through our team in an instant. Banette does manage to land some chip damage, but it's still not enough, and I am terrified of this cat. However, if there's one thing I know a cat is fearful of, it's something we do have: dogs. Our Houndstone that we've held since the very start of this run, facing off against Sprigatito since the very beginning, can not only withstand a hit from the Magician, but it can then use Last Respects, a move that gains power for each ally that has fainted. All it takes is one of these to crush Nemona's starter, giving us some sweet vengeance over our rival. Surely, after a beatdown like that, Nemona must be scared of my ghosts. And wow, Shaggy, Gita was right. Your team is super cute. You've trained your dolls and pets to be really strong. I'm sorry for doubting you. I don't want you to be sorry. I want you to fear me. Is this not the face of a horrifying monster? Seemingly, no matter how powerful I get, everybody still looks down on me. As hopeless as this all seemed, then I had an idea. If I beat the strongest trainer in the entire region, then surely I would be feared and respected. So, in search of the final boss, my ghosts and I began to descend into the Paldea crater until eventually reaching the pit of Area 0. And it's here that we find the most feared trainer, Professor Sada. Sada is terrifying. One of the hardest fights in any Pokemon game, with a stacked team that has plenty of tools to counter ghosts. However, we had assembled an incredibly strong and spooky roster of our own, and we were ready to make sure that Professor Sada stays dead this time. Sada leads with Slitherwing, who doesn't have any great answers for Skeledirge. So, after our Croc tanks a lunge comfortably, we fire off a Flame Charge, which has the added effect of boosting our speed. Then, on the next turn, a Torch Song leaves Slitherwing on the brink of death, and after surviving one more Zen Headbutt, Flame Charge finally finishes the moth. Second in is Brute Bonnet, one of Sada's deadly anti-ghost trio. Immediately, we hit it with a boosted Torch Song, but just miss out on the KO. And this, sadly, means that our Skeledirge falls to payback, evening the fight. Thankfully though, we have some great backup in the form of our dead Raging Ape. A bulk up from Annihilate helps it to boost its stats, meaning that payback doesn't do a lot. And while a Sucker Punch lowers us to half health, Annihilate can then eject the Sushroom with a Rage Fist punching it into oblivion. Third in is Screamtail, whose high speed and Psychic Fairy typing would make it a big threat to our monkey. However, our earlier bulk up continues to pay off, as now we can tank a Play Rough thanks to the defense boost before instantly busting the prehistoric Puffball with a super powered Rage Fist. However, next in is Fluttermane, one of Sada's scariest team members. Super fast, super strong, and has the potential to murder all of our ghosts. Immediately, Fluttermane KOs Annihilate like it's nothing, and this began to feel very ominous. Except I have a plan up my sleeve, because with Mimikyu's disguise, it's guaranteed to be able to withstand at least one hit. This buys us just enough time for Mimikyu to land a super effective Shadow Claw, crushing Sada's frail ghost in just one hit. Unfortunately though, things do not get easier from here, as now we have to deal with Sandy Shocks, a Pokemon that our current team of 6 doesn't have any great answers for. Although thankfully, we do get a little lucky here, as when switching into Gengar, Sada's flash cannons don't deal a whole lot. However, neither does our Shadow Ball. As a result, Sandy Shocks can hit an Earth Power that unceremoniously buries our Majin Buu. And while our Golden Go that follows can clutch up by surviving an Earth Power on 14 HP, a Make It Rain still isn't enough to take out this prehistoric magnet. With 2 of our strongest team members having quickly fallen, now we were left in a very dicey 2v2. However, we quickly fire back, as Mimikyu outspeeds Sandy Shocks, with Shadow Claw bringing Sada down to her final Pokemon. But this is possibly her scariest Pokemon, Roaring Moon. A Dark-type dragon that is faster and more powerful than anything we've faced in this challenge. So, Roaring Moon charges up its attack, and we just need Mimikyu to tank a hit here, and Mimikyu survives! This gives us a tiny window for our fairy to charm Sada's ace and nerf its attack. While Mimikyu does ultimately fall on the next turn, this clears the way for our ace, Houndstone, the dog we've had since day one. Not only can Houndstone tank a Night Slash, but a single Play Rough is all we need to pummel the demon into oblivion. With that, Professor Sada had been crushed. We had beaten all of Pokémon Scarlet using only Ghost types, and I'm sure that now everyone would give us the fear and respect we deserve. Jump into this video next for more Pokemon content, and make sure to like the video out of respect for our ghost puppy. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.